Good evening, traders. My name is Raul Rivera. I'm the founder of themarketprofile.com. Today is December the 14th, 2017. Let's get started with today's trading. And today we had a really interesting day in the markets. We sold off. First sell-off we've had in a few days. I believe one of the headlines was the Dow snaps a 5-day win streak. The Dow fell here by 96 points, the Nasdaq by 7 3/4, and the S&P fell here by 13.75 points. Now let's take a look at the market profiles, and we found a couple areas we were really interested in buying. The first one being this area right here, around 24.64 to 65. I really wanted the long side rather than the short side today, but we also wanted to short this area here, 26.74. This area we never really got to. The market did not have enough energy or volatility to trade to these highs before we began to sell them, so we can use these levels probably for another day. And the first area that we came in and bought was 26.65, right? So we got in at 26.65. Now, one of the most embarrassing things you could go through is trading on NinjaTrader and suddenly realizing that your trade isn't real. And that's what happened here with to me, unfortunately, at 26.65. I got long, but I got long on my sim account, right? I wasn't on my live account. For some reason the platform decided to change it from live to sim, and by the time I knew it, I was already 2.25 points in the money, and I couldn't get back in at 65. So that trade was successful, but at the same time, not real. But it just goes to show that this area, found some support. We traded, at its best, I believe it was 3.5 points from this area, which is a pretty good profit. But unfortunately, it doesn't convert into cash for me. Then we started seeing a little bit heavier selling with the net neutrality vote, as well as rumor mongers and saying that maybe there's a few problems with the tax bill, and we started seeing a bit more selling from there. And we didn't quite want to get into this area simply because when we took a look at the Nasdaq, when the S&P was around this area, the Nasdaq was literally trading over here. So we knew that the Nasdaq, the Dow, they're all derivatives of each other. They're all going to trade somewhat alike, and if one gets to value but the other one doesn't, and it's so far away from value, you might want to skip out on this trade. So that's what we did. We skipped out on that one, but we got into this one, and we also got long the Nasdaq right there inside of value. Inside of this value area low is what I'm trying to say. Inside of that value area low. Let me show you the trades here. So for the S&P, really turned out to be a one-tick scalp. I should have held it a little bit longer. I would have made at least 4 points on this trade, but the long here was as 55.50. As you can see, it traded as high as 61.50, back 61.75 at its best. I took it off here at 55.75, and when we roll over here to the Nasdaq, the area to buy was down here in the 64.04, 64.05 area. Came in, got long right there, 64.0450. Took my first target here at 64.0950, and actually I took my first target here at 64.14 and I managed to hit my stop on my 2-contract runner there at 64.09 Pretty decent trade. I profited $1,700 on that Nasdaq trade. Up next, we got crude, and crude, this morning, this chart was giving us issues until I finally had to restart the platform. And, so we weren't really able to analyze crude oil all that well, so we're going to skip that one. Next up, we got the 30-year. This one I took a small loser in, and maybe if this trade had hit earlier in the morning, I would have had a better chance, but there were two areas we were looking to buy. One area we were looking to buy, two areas we were looking to sell. I ended up selling this area here, but stopped myself out for -2 ticks on the trade. I was short at 154, got out at 154.02. Down here, based on value, I wanted to actually get long. If we could take a look here, I'm just going to split the distribution so you guys can see. why I wanted to buy this area down here. There you have it. Okay, when we split the distributions into their normal distributions, right? So we have D, B, P, and another P. Right here, we were left with a value area low. Market came right down to the tick and reversed immediately. Didn't really give us an opportunity to buy, but as soon as it got to the highs, we did, when we were able to buy. But unfortunately, you know, this was late in the day. It was around 2:20-ish p.m. You know, this market settles at 3 p.m. So we didn't really have that much time until 3 p.m. And then pretty much based on these value area highs, we wanted to take the trade, wanted to take a short. I'll show you the fills here. I like to be as transparent as possible. And here you can see I got short 5 contracts at 54 and bought them back at 54.02, taking a 2-tick loss on that trade. We can see right there is the losing marker, realized profit on the 30-year bond minus $326.90 after commissions. I took a long trade here in gold, and this one here, you guys can see the idea was to buy at a low volume node. This is a little bit more advanced in terms of market profile trading. We had already tested this area of support right there, but realizing that we had the Fed, we figured, you know, well, this was a big range extension on the Fed. You know, where could we possibly get in if the market doesn't sell off enough? So what we did was we started analyzing the volume profile behind the TPOs, and what we found is that we had a low volume node right there between a very high volume node and some pretty decently large volume nodes. Okay, not only that, but when we switch over to the Renko chart here and we take a look at the golden fibs, we actually had a level right there at 54.30, and that's exactly where we got in. That happens to match perfectly right there with that low volume node, 54.30 right there, and we took advantage of it and we made some money here. You know, we got in at 54.30, took that first target right there at 55.80, and eventually stopped ourselves out just above break even here at 54.60. Again, the idea came from the market profile where we wanted to buy, and the execution was helped by the Renko bars using the golden fibs. Here we can see my P&L in gold, $514.32 after commissions. Then I also took another trade on the Dow. This one I made $667 flat after commissions. And this one was on this first value area here. On this first, was it on this first value area? Let's take a look here. I believe it may have been on the first value area, and it was just under the first value area. We wanted to get long right there, 24,609. Just under this first value area, 609 was right in here. Let me get my trusty pen. 6409 was right in there, and you know, we took some really nice profits here. So we got in at 09. It took my first target up here at 43, almost 40 points completely, and then ended up getting stopped here at 24, and you can see the market just sold off completely after then. And a big push to the downside, and we actually entered this level of value here, 25,540, and we can see that the market did trade up here at 24,557, about 17 points at the close here. So I mean, as you guys can see, these value areas, I mean, they're paying, and they're paying big. And the only way to get these is using our indicators, using the market profile the way that we use it, right? Because it's not about taking a look at the profile of the entire day, looking where to buy or looking where to sell based on the distributions you see. You have to split the distributions into their normal distribution forms, okay? And our software can do that. If we take a look at crude oil here, boom, I just split a profile. You know, this, now we have 2 value area sets instead of just one for the entire day. And the ability to see these areas is not something that every market profile trader has. And, you know, us here at the marketprofile.com, we have the ability to do this. And, you know, we find ourselves trading some pretty decent markets. And the final trade I'll go over here is the FESX, which is the Euro Stocks 50. This one, not so much based on market profile, but just on an idea using Renko bars. I made 2,896 euros. When you convert that to dollars, it's about 3,000, almost $3,500 on one single trade. Let's take a look at it. Right here, got long at 35.71, 25 contracts, and I sold the balance completely, in and out at 35.81. And this market trades so slow that it's common to see, these Renko bars pretty much give you these really, really smooth swings from one side to the other. And I've been seeing that, and I haven't been able to catch a few of these trades because when I want to take a trade, sometimes the market doesn't pull back enough. And today it finally pulled back enough here at 71. I was able to take full advantage and take 10 ticks, which really resulted in my biggest trade of the day. Next up, we got DAX. Let's take a look at the DAX here. DAX distributed lower, higher, and then lower. Well, it looks like lower and then higher, or higher then lower then higher then lower. So lots of distributions here in the DAX. Let's fit this profile there. We got a D followed by a B followed by a P followed by a B. I mean, if you add it all together, it's pretty much a D-shaped distribution. I mean, it's got two distributions, but still, somewhat of an even distribution. We have even value as well. So we didn't do anything in the DAX today. We tried to get long the euro here, all the way down here in the 50s, but you can see that the market just did not trade down to that area. Unfortunately, we didn't want the short side, after the Fed. This Fed came out to be just, buy the rumor, sell the news on the US dollar. So what benefits from a deterioration in the US dollar? Well, currencies against the dollar and gold and the bonds as well. That's why we started seeing rallies instead of sell-offs in those markets. So, I mean, I'm not one of those big hedge fund guys, but, I understood the trade as soon as it happened, right? I understood the trade as soon as it happened, but definitely not before, because I'm a day trader, right? As day traders, my only concern is that the short-term gains and the short-term move in the markets. I don't really concern myself with the longer-term views. But if we take a look at a chart of the dollar in the longer term, we've had a really strong rally into the Fed, and now we're selling it off. It's pretty much because we priced in the rate hike of $1 well before Janet Yellen made it official yesterday. So that's our trading for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to know more, definitely visit us at www.themarketprofile.com. We have 14-day free trials of our indicators and our trade room. So be sure to check us out. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.